Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James. Here I like to explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And as you can see, today's fountain pen, this shiny bauble of a thing, is the Sheaffer Intensity, a not brand new but not that old fountain pen that I picked up on eBay. Pretty sure it was either almost never or never used or new old stock. It is very much a brand new condition fountain pen that I got for a really good deal. Now, good deals I like, but only if the good deal is also a good pen. So if you're perusing the pen market and you happen to find one of these, would it be a good buy? Well, let's spin that camera and find out. And here is the Sheaffer Intensity in this simple gift box. It also seemed to come sometimes in a regular pen coffin. Mine also came with a blue ink cartridge and another little surprise that we'll see here in just a moment. Now, once you get it out of that box, you have a very shiny pen indeed. Now, this did come in different materials, and there are still a lot of these pens, both at regular fountain pen retailers and then some new old stock you can find on eBay, as I found this. The advantage, of course, for buying from the pen retailer is that you will still get a warranty as you are buying a new pen, buying a new old stock pen off eBay. You gets what you gets. But I'm happy with that because what I got is actually a really nice pen. This is a chromed brass pen. So because that is brass underneath the chrome, this really is a very solid pen. It has a nice premium weight. I've never quite figured out why weight equals premium, but I know that this is the way a lot of people think. A nice premium weight to it. No rattles or anything like that. And it does seem to be quite well made. So let's look at the overall design. First, up at the finial, you simply have a polished dome of chrome, a chrome dome, like some people I know. And then we have that very familiar white dot at the top of the clip. And the clip is really slender, comes to that point. It's both strong and pretty easy to use. Has a nice springiness to it without being flimsy and without being too rigid. The striations are nice because, one, they kind of break up the light as it hits that pen. Two, it is well done. And three, it does at least push back a little bit on the fingerprint magnetness of this pen, because it would be, if this were all smooth, very much a fingerprint magnet. So this does actually help with that quite a bit. There are some other finishes, not just chromed. You can look around out there and find some different colors. So then we come down to the band, and stamped or engraved in is Sheaffer, and it's nice and neatly done, and very, very simple. No model, anything on the back. Intensity would be kind of big back there. So I guess I'll give them a pass. If it was a simple number or letters like the VFM or the 100 or 300, then actually I would like that to be back there. Anyway, come on down, tapers down just slightly to another polished and slightly domed end cap there as well. And then that brings us to something that I actually really do like about this pen, and that is when you turn the cap. Let's go and count those. Well, you know what? If you were the count on Sesame Street, you would have an easy day. That is just under one turn. So it is a really quick pen to uncap. Some of you really, really will like that about this pen. It does post securely. Now it is, again, it's a brass pen, so there's some weight to it. For my hand, that rests far enough down that it doesn't bother me, but it is, of course, much more balanced, more comfortable, and long enough to write with unposted, and I think that's probably how most would prefer to write with it. And in this case, actually, most of that weight just kind of disappears, and it's just not bad at all. So ergonomics, I think, are quite good. Also good because look how long that grip section is. Now that just makes it easier to find a place, and of course it does have that slightly concave shape to it, so that even though it is a shiny chromed grip section, I don't find this to be too bad at all, and I don't find my hand losing its grip because there's just enough of that shape to it to just kind of help you find the sweet spot there and to write with that. Now, down where I'm holding it, it does get just thin enough that if you don't like too thin a grip section, you'll want to be aware of that. You can kind of see in proportion to that nib that it's not just a great big honking grip in diameter. So be aware of that. This is not a thick pen, but I wouldn't let that metal grip section scare you off too much. It's not textured at all, but it does have a good enough shape that I don't find it to be frustratingly slippery as some metal grip sections are. Now you will notice that there is that step down. This is not sharp. That's well machined and done nicely. And because of that grip section, you don't really come up that far back. So that's not an issue either. Taking a look at the nib, Sheaffer is stamped into the nib along with medium. So that's good. I always like it when they give you an identifier on the nib of what size it is, because when you get a bunch of pens around or if you have duplicates, it becomes important. So there you go. That is there. Just a very simple, smooth nib other than that stamping. I do like the way that it writes. This is a nice medium nib and that stubby little feed. And again, it supplies plenty of ink, does a good job, and I've been pleased with the nib on this pen. So what's inside the pen? Now, you know that these take proprietary Sheaffer cartridges, and you saw that one was included, but that wasn't all. Yes, indeed, my pen did come with a converter, and for that, I am grateful. I don't know if they come with all Sheaffer intensities. You'll want to check that when you're shopping, but this pen did, and that made it just an even better deal for me anyway. And I don't think I've mentioned what I paid for the pen. I paid $28 on eBay, and I thought that was a great deal. I checked at the time that I'm filming this, that seller still has a few at $29, I think, so I'll put a link to that seller in the description below. No connection to them at all. I just think it's a good deal. But you can, of course, still buy these pens from retailers. Most of them were in different finishes that I saw. And we'll look down inside the cap as well, and you will find that it has a plastic liner. You can see the brass attachment of that cap at the finial as well. So dry out has not been a problem for me with this pen during regular use and even some extended stays. Although, you wait too long with any fountain pen, just about, and you're going to have trouble. But this one has performed quite well. Some of you will want to note that these are plastic threads inside the cap, meeting up with the metal threads on the body. All right, for the size comparison, we have, of course, the Sheaffer Intensity, and then I thought I'd bring another Sheaffer out, the Sheaffer Icon, which of course is a larger pen there in diameter, but shorter in length for sure. And then to keep it shiny, we got the Pen BBS 499, which, to be honest, seeing these pens apart from one another, I would have thought was about the same size, but it is larger all around and even blingier. I do wish they would come out with a chromed version of the 499, by the way, but you can get this in black if the gold is a little bit too much for you. And then I thought, because this is in the price range of what you will find these being sold for at a discount on clearance, and I think it competes quite nicely against the Sheaffer. I would put these two pens side by side and shop them, and that's the Scrivener Classic pen, this one, and that beautiful British racing green lacquer. And to be honest, I think all these pens are kind of in the same neighborhood in terms of competition, and so they kind of give us a really nice lineup today. Okay, uncapped, you really start to see the difference in these pens, don't you? So very similar in size then to the Scrivener, different shape and diameter, but very similar in unposted, uncapped length. And then that Icon is actually holding up pretty well against that Pen BBS, but the Pen BBS definitely is the larger of these four pens. And then here are the pens and their posted length. All right, let's see how the pen writes. And this is a medium. So the ink is Birmingham Pen Company. And the color today is petroleum. which I really, really like. Wetness, I think, is okay. I don't have any problems with flow or anything like that with this pen. It's written quite well, and it seems to like this ink. As you can hear, perfectly smooth on this Rhodia paper, and I have no real scratchiness or anything like that at all. This nib seems well done. Bonus points this week go to who knows what those companies might have in common with the Sheaffer Intensity. Let's do our speed test of the nib to see if that flow is as good as what I've been saying. You can put it to the test here and judge with your own eyes. Again, this is in real time. All right. Man, that did really well. In fact, the last couple of pens that I've done, that did the best. I didn't even roll over, did I? That looks great. And writing quickly, you can see, that you start to get a little bit of shading, and that may just be that may be more fading because you're not getting quite as much ink. But it did really well. Nowhere is there a skip. That's as close as it gets, right there at the very end. There's just a little light spot right there. If I'm being real picky, this is really quite good. What are my closing thoughts about this pen? Well, pros are that it can be found at a really good discount from a lot of retailers because of it being discontinued. Obviously, a con, it's been discontinued, and eventually that supply will run out. Again, I found this one on eBay, really good deal, and the seller was good, came very fast. I've been very pleased buying it that way. That's kind of a separate thing from the pen, but I throw that in there. Cons, this one has the little engraving spot on the cap. Kind of forgot to mention that earlier, even though I intended to. And I'm going to call that a con because, for me, I'm not going to engrave the pen, but it's still there. I forget about it. It fades away into the background for me as I use the pen, and I like the pen so much that I really don't care, to be honest. Kind of a retroactive con, like if I had been reviewing this pen back when it first came out, retail price for this pen when new was around $90. Some places I saw old defunct posts where they were around $99. And a lot of the people thought that it was actually worth that price at the time. I think I would have said no. I don't think that it was ever a $90 to $100 pen, but I do think at the currently, discontinued and discounted price of $50, $60, if that had been the price when it was new, maybe they wouldn't have had to discontinue it, because at that price point, it starts to be competitive. I think it's competitive to that Pen BBS $499, which is in the $40-something, almost $50 price range if memory serves. The Scrivener is right in that $40 to $50, $45 to $50 price range, and I think it's really good pen for that money. And I think this competes well there. At the new old stock price of $28 I paid, fantastic bargain. So, good things do sometimes come to those who wait. It's a shame it has to come through a discontinuation and things like that. But in that case, pro on the not used, slightly used new old stock market. I would give this pen a spin for sure. I didn't buy this for review. I bought this pen for me and for my collection. And I definitely think I got more than my money's worth. It has been a very enjoyable pen to write with, and actually makes me a little more interested in what Sheaffer might have to offer in the future, if it could live up to how well this pen has performed. So with that, let's kick off that discussion. What do you think about the Sheaffer Intensity, and what is your current favorite let's say in the last 20 years, which has not been the peak of Sheaffer, but what are your favorite pens, say, from the last 20 years that Sheaffer has produced? And do you think that Sheaffer will bring out any more pens that will cause you to go back to that trough? With that, I hope you have a good week. God bless you.